Today's class is going to be using Versaloop and or TheraBand stretch band. If you don't have that, stretchy leggings, you still have pantyhose, those work. We'll be laying down on our backs to start. Just come to your side and then roll onto your back. We'll just set our band down where we can reach it in a moment. And then reach back behind the base of your head, your skull. You just kind of pick up your skull and see if you can stretch the back of your neck just a little longer. Just be really gentle so that you are looking straight up at the ceiling. And if you cannot look straight up at the ceiling, if your back bent and your neck still, then it's okay to place a little pillow under your head. Okay, pull your shoulders down. Just walk your shoulders down. Keep your feet flat on the mat with your knees bent. Your legs are at about, hip bone width, right? So let's lift and lower our hips and just do this a few times to start activating our buttock muscles. Your arms are just down on the mat. So you can be either pressing down with your palms down or pressing down with the backs of your hands down. And we'll just be lifting and lowering. Now, if you have bone density loss, the lift is very, very small. It's just enough so that you could slide your hand underneath your tush. If you do not have bone density loss, you can lift up higher. Just two rules of thumb here would be to stay on your shoulder blades so that you're not putting undue pressure on your neck. And also just use your abdominals to help your body stay in a nice cylinder as you lift up. When we're moving through our bridging or our bottom lift, it's good to note whether you feel the front of your throat changing. And if you feel like the front of your throat is growing smaller, that's an indicator that you're lifting up too high for the ability of your body in that moment. Okay, so we need to change something and make it a little smaller. So we're still doing bottom lifts. That way you can do 15 or 20, and it's just a really nice way to wake up the legs and the rear end and kind of get some fluid pumping through the spine. Okay, so last one here. All right. And then we'll go ahead and put finger pads, nice wide hand position spanning across the belly. Take a breath, and as you exhale, pull your navel in, pull up your pelvic floor, keep your ribs and hips in place, and bring one leg up to tabletop and then the other. Slide your knees in closer and take 2 breaths and just see if you can drop your navel down a little bit closer to the mat. And then begin to toe touch one set of toes at a time. So we're moving from a really stable center. And the purpose of your hands spanning your belly right now is just to feel what's going on. Right, so we set up this biofeedback loop. You've got more nerve endings on your finger pads than many other places in the body. So it's a great way to strengthen the connection into your core. Okay. So just do these toe taps for a few more. If that feels like a little too much, you're welcome to have one leg down on the floor at a time and do some marching instead. And if it feels like not enough, you can do a few leg reaches. Just reach a long leg and just see where you are. Where can we go without adding any tension or strain into our neck or face or jaw? Okay, so we'll just do a couple more. I know I might have already said that, but we Pilates teachers, we have no idea how to really count unless we're counting. So we tend to, not really mean it when we say 2. Yeah. So let's go ahead now. Bring your knees into your hands. Bring your knees in and then open them wide and circle them around. So we're doing circles passively, circling our femur bones and the hip socket, and just allowing the pelvis to rock back and forth very gently. And let's go the other direction. Just some nice movement in between work. Beautiful. So let's go ahead and hug your knees in. Take one breath. Zip up your zipper line. Pull up your pelvic floor and float your feet back down. And we'll take the band. So let's take our band in a single width and have it be kind of loose in between your hands. Good. So with this loose band, we're thinking about aiming it below our chest line. Okay, so we'll pull up into our pelvic floor, push through your feet, use your buttocks, lift your hips, and bring the band down. And then connect the band with your thighs and push past your thighs so that your arms actually come down to the floor. So your seat is lifted, your arms are down, and the band is providing resistance. And then we'll lower down as we bring the band back up again. Okay, so now let's take our breathing into this. So we'll inhale as you pull the band down and lift up your hips. That expands the chest. And then exhale, use your abdominals and your pelvic floor as you lower down. So this can be kind of a really mindful movement here. So this is a variation of chest expansion that is a Joseph Pilates exercise that was originally done. Well, Joe's breathing was originally done in this position on the Cadillac, and then chest expansion is usually done upright. So, but it's the same idea. When we breathe in, we open up the chest, and we breathe out, and we activate the core control on the lowering down. So let's just do two more. Open up the chest, feel your postural muscles strengthening, feel the back line of the body. Good. Inhale, press down and lift your hips. Exhale, come down. Beautiful job. So let's just set the band aside for the moment and take both knees in towards your chest and hold on to your shins. So wing your elbows out so you've got a nice rounded elbow. Okay, good. And then we'll just press our shins with our hands and press our shins into our hands. So we have an isometric. And take a breath. And as you exhale, pull your belly in. So we're still holding the isometric. Now, feel your back on the mat. Don't let that change. Inhale, extend your arms and legs long. So our legs can go up toward the ceiling or down lower. Exhale, swim your arms around in a circle. Keep your legs together, bend them, and come back in. Hold your arms and legs together. So we inhale to extend long. Exhale, swim the arms around and grasp onto your shins again and do a little push-pull. Inhale, extend. Back is staying on the mat. So the height of your legs determines the work in your abs here. And two more, and this time I really mean it. Good. And last one. Swim around. And there you have it. Good. So now just keep holding on to both knees with both hands. And this time take your knees around in a circle together. So now you're massaging the edges of the sacrum. So your whole pelvis and your femurs are all kind of rolling together like a cylinder. And we'll go the other direction. Just keep breathing. So that was our double leg stretch. Another genuine Joseph Pilates exercise done with the head down so that we can keep our spine safe if we have bone density loss, and pull your knees in. And we'll go ahead and bring our feet down. So now we'll take the band again and find the midpoint of the band and then place your left foot in the band, okay, with your legs straight up toward the ceiling. Now, your arms will be down on the mat with your elbows bent. So you're going to kind of press the backs of your arms and your shoulder blades into the mat, and also press your right foot into the mat. So you're activating the glute. Pull into your belly. Try not to have too much tension on the band to start with. So as you lower your leg, the tension increases. That supports your hip joint. Bring your leg out to the side and up. So we're making a reverse capital letter D with our leg, and we'll do 5 in each direction. And watch for the tendency of the right leg, which you're just pressing that foot into the floor. It's going to want to splay outward as your leg moves out in that curvy letter D shape, right? So use your inner thigh to keep it in place. And one more this direction. Good, and then let's go the other direction. So we sweep down and then come straight up the middle. And 2 of 5. Just keep pulling into your abdominals, softly pulling up the pelvic floor. And if you do happen to have any popping or clicking, make the movement smaller so that you can work your leg in a way that keeps your hip joints stable. And the last one. Perfect. So now let's go ahead and bring your leg up, bring the other leg up, cross the TheraBand into an X shape, and put your elbows back down on the mat. So we have both legs up in the TheraBand as straight as you can manage. Pull your belly in, pull up your pelvic floor, and lower the legs a little bit. Find your abs, pull them in, and bring the legs back up. Let's do about 8 here. Lower your legs straight down. Just find your abs, find that moment before your back lifts and your throat tenses up. So we're going to really pay attention to the neck and the throat responding to work today, because it's a pretty significant tell. If your throat starts tensing up, it means you're going a little too far. So we're going to just pay attention to that little clue. Okay, and 2 more. Breathing is good, so we'll make sure we keep doing that. Good. And then we'll go ahead and take the left foot out, put that foot on the floor. Right leg is straight up in the air. We're holding on to the ends of the band, not too tight, right? Shoulders are pressing down, and we'll go into our letter D's on the other side. So we've got a straight down the middle, okay? And then sweep out and up the other side. So paying attention to now your left leg, not counterbalancing by splaying out. And take your time through the movement. See if you can keep your legs straight. Really feel like you're reaching into the band with your foot to maintain length in your leg and hip and torso. And 4, use your abdominals to keep everything stable. 5, keep breathing. And then we'll go the other direction. Sweep down and out and straight up the middle. Good. And 2, pull into belly, keep smiling. And 4. And 5. Good. Bring your leg up. Put your left leg in the band. They're still crossed at an X. So now turn your toes out and keep your heels together. You can bend your knees slightly if you need to. So you have kind of a marquee diamond shape in between your legs. Keep your shoulders down and your arms pressing down. So we've got this sort of diamond leg position, and we're going to lower that down and bring it back up. Okay. So find where in your belly is working a little differently when you externally rotate your femurs. Okay, so down and up. You can try inhaling down, and exhale gives you a little bit stronger use of your abs. Exhale, and 1 more. Exhale, good. And just bring your knees in for a second. And just take your knees around in mirror image circles. So you just take your legs and femur bones and kind of stir them around the hip sockets. And notice I did not say get rid of your TheraBand yet. I know. It's good. All right, so now we've still got our feet in the TheraBand. We did a few directions, and a few repetitions in each direction, just kind of loosening up in the hip joint. So now we're going to take our legs back up, heels together, toes apart, shoulders down. You're holding onto the band. So just lower your legs in this kind of diamond leg position, only as far as you can to feel your abdominals working. And then from there, keep your heels together, bring your knees in. Exhale, press them out, straightening your legs. So now your toes are apart, your heels are together the whole time. Inhale, bring them in. Exhale, press them out. So it's frogs. Inhale and exhale, press out. So you'll feel some inner thigh, the inner line of the quadricep. It's important to really get the legs straight. So if your leg structure doesn't let you keep your heels together at the very end, it's okay to let the heels come apart slightly if that's what it takes to get your knee straight. You really want to get the knee straight in this position. So 2 more. Exhale. Remember, your height in the room determines your ab work. And exhale. Great job. Let's go ahead and bring our knees in. Just shake the TheraBand off your feet, and we'll set it over to the side for a moment. Just extend both legs long, pulling into your belly. Flex your feet like you're standing. Bring your arms overhead, and just give ourselves a nice stretch here. So just take a breath. Squeeze your booty and see if you can feel an opening in the front of your hip joint. And then we'll just go ahead and bring our arms down beside us, bring our legs back in, and we'll place our hands behind the base of our skull, interlacing the fingers. So we'll practice for a moment just the head hover versus the upper body lift. So we've got a little bit of a chin nod that starts to activate the inside of the throat muscles. That's what it feels like anyway. So when we do that, we can start, we can start there, then we can bring our rib cage down, okay, toward our hips, kind of like pressing the back of the ribs into the mat. And when you do that, see what happens. If you're holding your head steady, your head's going to just hover off the mat like an inch. It's not going to be much. And this is what I call the head hover. So we're basically just keeping the chin knotted, supporting the head, pulling the ribs toward the mat, and you come up in this tiny little movement that contracts all of the abdominals. Now, if you're up there now, pull up your pelvic floor and think about the line between your pubic bone and navel, and just hold here for a moment and feel that work. And then we'll come back down. So this is for people that really don't want to lift their heads, and that would include our osteo population and anybody else who doesn't want to lift their head. Okay, so let's go ahead and come into the head hover again. And if you do want to lift your head and you're okay with it, it's not contraindicated, we can go ahead and start looking down toward the thighs and come up. And from that position, you're looking for your wide, flat belly. You're looking at your thighs over your cheekbones, and then come down with as much care as you came back up again. Okay, so we just choose which position we're going to be working in. And then we're going to add on. So whatever you're working on, do it, like head hover or upper body lift. Lift your right leg. Then rotate your heart towards your right leg. Rotate your heart back to center. Lower down everything. And then come up. So it's chin nod, rib cage, left leg. Rotate your heart toward the left. Come back to center. Come back down. Okay? Let's do one more on each side. Lift up your right leg. Come up into the head hover or the upper body lift, which is just simply going to be higher. And come back down through center. Lower the leg. Lift up the left leg. And then come up to an appropriate height. And come back down to center. Good. So we can keep practicing that, or we could just bring both legs up to tabletop if you want more. And then extend the leg you're rotating away from. Okay, so this takes us into our crisscross. If crisscross is more than you bargained for today, either with your head down or your head up, just go back to marching and march a knee in and rotate toward that knee. Okay, so we just have some fun with rotation here. We're rotating around the long axis of our spine. We want to be careful when we do this rotation that our side waist is staying long. So you have the backs of both hip bones and one shoulder blade pressing really firmly into the mat as you take your rotation. So you get a lot of feedback from the mat. And one more on each side, and we'll come down and rest. Open your arms out, take your knees and ankles together, and just take your lower body off to one side so you can stretch out. Just take a few breaths. One more breath. And on the exhale, pull your belly in, bring the weight of your legs to center, and inhale off to the other side. So we're feeling a stretch across the chest, shoulder, and side of our bodies. And exhale back to center. We'll bring our arms back in, lift and lower your hips to organize your spine. All right. So if you have a Versa loop, you put that around your thighs, okay? If you don't have a Versa loop, what you'll have to do is take your long one and make a Versa loop by passing the two ends through the middle right section and putting that around your thighs, okay? So it's a kind of a hassle to have to knot them, but you can make a band, a contiguous band by knotting your TheraBand, but don't do it if you ever want to get the band apart again. So I would suggest only do that if you've got two TheraBands. Otherwise, you might just have to hold on to the loose end with one hand. So now you've got the band around your thighs, and you're going to have it right above the knee joint, okay? So it's as far away from your body as it can be. Pull your shoulders down, and then take your feet at about sit bone width apart and take your knees that far apart as well. So now you've got some activation of the outer leg glutes pressing into the band. And we'll just take a little bottom lift here or a bridge and come back down. So we'll take a bottom lift and come back down. So we're going to do two more like this, bottom lift or bridge and come back down. One more and come back down. Good. Now the fun begins. So let's go ahead and take a bottom lift, lift your heels, come back down, lower your heels, bottom lift, lift your heels, lower back down, and lower your heels. Two more. Bottom lift your heels, lower back down, lower your heels. One more. Bottom lift your heels, lower back down, lower your heels. Good. Now lift your heels, bottom lift, lower your heels, lower back down, lift your heels, bottom lift, lower back down, lower your heels. Two more. Lift your heels, bottom lift, lower your heels, lower back down. Last one. Lift your heels, bottom lift, lower your heels, lower back down. Well, that was interesting. So now let's keep our feet flat on the mat and lift up. Shift your weight to the left, shift your weight to the right. Remember, you're still pressing out on the band this whole time, right? Shift your weight to the left, shift your weight to the right. Good. Shift your weight to the left, keep your thighs parallel, extend the right leg, lower down, and lift. Your thighs are parallel. You're pressing out on the band. Lower and lift. Two more. Lower and lift. You're lowering the hips, not the leg. Lower your hips and lift. Good. Put your leg back down. Shift over to the right. Extend the left leg. Keep the thighs parallel as you lower your hips and lift. Lower your hips and lift. Keep pressing the band out. Lower your hips and lift. Lower your hips and lift. Good. Lower your hips, lower your foot. Good. And then just let your knees come together. Bring your knees in And take your knees around in a big sacrum circle about 3 times in one direction and then the other. So just keep breathing. Good. So let's pull our knees in, take a breath, bring your feet back down again. Pull your shoulders down and arms are down beside you. Now, this next one, we can assist our legs if we need to. So let's take a breath, pull up your pelvic floor, pull into your zipper line and bring your knees in to a very close tabletop. Now, the assistance, if you need it, would be on the leg that's going to stay in toward your chest, okay? So here's our big idea. We're going to press our right leg out and keep our left leg in, which creates a kind of a push-pull, okay? So if the left leg needs help, you just place your hands behind your thighs here to assist it a little bit. And then bring the right leg in and take the left leg out. Keep the right leg pulling in, and then you would assist the right leg if you need it to stay in. Okay, so we're just going to keep going. Now, if you don't need to assist your leg to stay in, then you can hover your hands beside you and just keep your shoulder blades down your back and see if you can just pause for a moment. When you extend the leg long, your leg is actually straightening against the band. You're going to pause a moment and really hit that moment here where you've got one leg in, one leg out. Okay, so the idea is to create this push-pull that's strengthening your stabilizers and your pelvis in your core. Okay, all right, that's it. Let's do one more on each side. Perfect, and then we'll bring our knees in and take your knees around in mirror image circles. Yes, you can still do that even though you've got a band around your thighs. Good. So now we'll put our feet back down on the mat, bring the right leg up to tabletop and straighten your leg. Your left leg is staying down on the mat. Your arms are down on the mat. Now, take your leg down, bring it out and around and up. So now we're going to do circles again. The resistance is different though. See how that pulls you more into your low belly. So we'll do 5 in each direction. So this is 4 and 5. And let's go the other direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. And change legs. Left leg up. And keep making your circles. 2. Try to keep your leg as straight as possible. And 4. And 5. Another direction. And notice how having the resistance a little bit closer to your hip joint actually recruits more of your core. Okay, so this is assisted, yes, in a way, but it's also adding resistance in to strengthen the rotators in the core. And fold the knee and let your foot come down. So we'll just place our ankles and knees together, take your arms out, and we'll go ahead and let our knees roll to one side again for a second time, stretching the chest side of the body and side of the leg. Just take a couple breaths here. Then exhale through center. Inhale off to the other side. I hope you're having fun. And exhale back to center. Good. So let's go ahead and just roll over onto one side. So we'll support our head in our hands and see if you can stack or line yourself up from the crown of your head through your tailbone to the back of your mat. And then your knees and hips are bent. So you're in maybe a chair position or maybe a Z position in your legs, okay? So now keep the bottom leg pressing down. And friends with hip replacements, be very careful that we don't kick the foot up faster than the knee rises on this. So we'll go ahead and pull our waist up off the mat, lift your leg so everything lifts in one line, and then slowly lower. And lift and lower. So you can have your hand in front of you, hand on hip, hand up toward the ceiling, whatever feels right for today. Sometimes doing this one, I like to kind of feel the wide, flat side of the hip, because you can feel your muscles working when you do this lift. And these muscles that are on this side of what we often think of as our hip, those are actually muscles that help you with balancing from leg to leg while you're walking. So they're very important. They're called your glute medius and minimus, two of the 9 gluteal muscles that we own on each side of our rump. And yeah, it's kind of interesting just to feel them working. And that's enough of that one. Okay, I'll say. All right, so let's just go ahead and come up and flip over to the other side. So we'll line ourselves up again, crown of the head through tailbone with the back of the mat. And again, be very careful. We lift our side waist. We want to make sure that the knee and ankle are lifting at the same rate of speed. Especially important for our hip replaced friends, that we don't unintentionally create an internal rotation in someone's hip who is not supposed to be doing that. And again, we've got these glute medius and minimus on the side here, okay? Or we can have our arm up, or we can just do whatever we need to with our arm, okay? Keep breathing. And this side, you might notice, warms up a little more quickly than the other side, because when you lift the top leg against the resistance, the bottom leg has to actively press into the mat. So whether we realize it or not, the bottom leg is working while we're doing this lift. And the last one. Well, that was fun. So let's go ahead and come up and take the band off. And then we'll flip over on our back and treat ourselves to a figure 4 stretch for each side before we move on. So you crossed over one ankle on top of the opposite thigh, and you'll feel a stretch in your hip and glute area. So if you don't feel that, you can try lifting up on your toes of the supporting leg and bringing that leg in closer, and often that'll be enough. And if you really don't feel anything, congratulations. You will be one of a handful of people that I've known in my career who actually don't even need the stretch. So that's very cool. Keep breathing. This stretch is important because it helps to stretch the area in your bum where the sciatic nerve passes through. So if anyone suffers from sciatica, this is a wonderful stretch to practice as a daily routine. And we'll go ahead and unwind the first leg and go to the second side. And if you need a little bit more, you bring your support leg in a little closer, come up on the toes, flex the top foot to protect your knee ligaments, and just breathe and wait for the magic to happen. It takes about 20 to 30 seconds for a stretch to really become effective. And those of us that have tightness in our bodies, sometimes it's not the most comfortable thing to wait for that magic to happen. It's a good practice in patience. We'll take a couple more breaths here. And then we'll unwind the stretch. Good. Let's bring both knees in. Take the knees wide and pull them in on each side of your torso. Just take a couple of breaths there. And we'll release. Let's go ahead and come to one side and come on up. So let's do some standing work next with our long band. We'll have our band and just have it in front of you without a lot of tension on it. We'll have it have a smiley face, and we can smile too. Pull your shoulders down and see how tall you can get on your mat. Right? So you're going to pull in and up and pull up your pelvic floor and take a breath. And then as you step back with one leg, pull the band apart and have it meet you at your hips. So then you bring your shoulders back, right? And feel the strength of your back muscles. Hopefully you landed on your toes. Okay, take a breath, exhale, and step forward. So from side view, we exhale to step back. The band is low across your hips. You use your hips as a fulcrum to create resistance and strengthen your back muscles. And then step forward. So we're going to just keep going side to side, alternating sides. Now, as you're stepping back, think about the pubic bone and navel continuing to stay in the same distance from each other. So we're just really going back into true hip extension without trying to back bend in our lower back. Matter of fact, we're trying to not back bend in our lower back, because this way we're controlling the position of our bones so we get the most effective stretch across the front of our hip. Okay, so we'll just keep going. You feel the strength that you're building in your back. So we want to be in the position of alignment that we wish to strengthen. So that means that we maintain a beautiful and strong, tall posture. And we challenge our muscles by pulling back into the band for a chest expansion. Just pause a little bit while we're back there. Let the muscles work. Keep pulling into belly. Let's do one more on each side. Good. That was nicely done. So we'll come back to standing at the front of the mat. And this time we're going to do our three-way shoulder stretch. So just step back with one leg, land on the toes, find your zip up line. So pubic bone to navel to sternum. Good. And once we've got our posture, we'll bring our arms up. Now, if you are healing a shoulder, just go to where you're comfortable. You don't have to go behind you if that's uncomfortable. So as you come to about eyebrow level, pull the band apart and see if it's okay to go behind you, right? And then keep pulling on the band and come back up from behind and forward. So we'll do two more. So we're doing 3 with each leg behind. Just make it a nice mindful movement. The intention of the band is to help your shoulder socket, right? And your shoulder stay together more easily. So it's a nice, smooth, round movement that we experience in the shoulder. And then we'll take a little breath. Once we've done 3, step forward and just step back with the other leg. So again, zip up, pubic bone, navel, sternum, shoulders back and down. Maybe we're smiling a little bit. And we'll bring the band up. And if it's okay to go overhead and behind, do. And if that feels not okay today, it's fine. You just do what you can do. Okay? Just keep breathing. And one more. Perfect job. So we'll step forward. Let's do some shoulder rolls. Okay. Now we're going to do a little balance challenge for today. So hold on to the very ends of your band. And you see that you've got the center loop right here, you know, obviously in the center. Okay. So I am going to choose to step into the center of the band with my right foot, and my left foot is going to be just on the floor, okay? So your right foot, if you're in the center of the band, is slightly in front of you, okay? So now we are going to do two things at once. Bend your elbows and bend your knee to lift your foot. And then keep your elbows bent, press the foot back down, okay? So let's see if we can do 10. So keep squeezing your standing booty. And if you want more challenge, don't go all the way to the floor, right? So then you are forced to just stand on the left leg. But if you don't want that challenge, go ahead and press down and go all the way to the floor and lift back up again. So your biceps are isometrically working, and 10. And then release that. Take your right foot out, put your left foot in. Right foot out, left foot in, and you shake it all about, right? What song is that? Pokey Pokey? Okay, I don't know where we just went, but we went somewhere. So let's go ahead and shift over, and then two things at once. Bend your elbows, bend your knee, and then press down and up with your leg, keeping the band steady. So you're squeezing your right booty to keep it strong while you're standing on it. You can challenge yourself by not touching the floor with your bending and straightening leg, or you can just press it down, bring it up, press it down, okay? They're both good. Good. That's awesome. And one more. Beautiful. And then we'll release that. That was great, you guys. So let's go ahead and go back over to the mat and bring our bands with us. We'll go into hands and knees. Okay. So on hands and knees, or we can use fists if your wrists don't like to be flat. It's completely fine. Shoulders are down, and see if you can get your knees and your elbows right below your hips and your shoulders respectively. So you've got about a 90-degree at your hip and your shoulder joint. Okay, so now tuck your toe pads onto the mat, okay, like you're in high-heeled shoes. Pull your shoulder blades down your back, and then scoop your belly up without changing your back and lift your pelvic floor, okay? That's your setup. The exercise is just to lift your knees 1 inch. There, okay? 1 inch. Why is this so hard? Oh my goodness. Keep pulling up your pelvic floor, zip up from the pubic bone to your navel, to your sternum. Try not to shift back because that would be cheating. And breathe, and then lower your knees. Wasn't that fun? It's fun enough so we can do it again. It's called a quadruped plank. And what that does is it takes you into your core, and it doesn't let your legs work for you too much to like do the plank. So pull up your pelvic floor, zip up, lift your knees 1 inch, and hold, and breathe, and smile about it because we're getting stronger. This reminds me kind of in the equestrian world, what they call collection, which is when the horse pulls up into their core so hard because they're creating energy to do a move. And then lower your knees. That was a lot. Okay, so now let's take the band and we're going to have it doubled over, okay, and put one end of it underneath your left hand or fist or forearm. If you're down on forearms, it's fine too. And cross it underneath you and take the other end so that it's just a straight line without tension with your elbow beside you. Good. So this is a great position. We can do the tricep kickback. Okay. So we're going to keep both shoulders down. Do your tricep kickback. So notice what your core has to do when you extend and bend your elbow, keeping your upper arm right next to you. Okay. Okay. So I feel like that it requires more glute strength in the side of my body that of the pulling arm. Okay, so there's kind of a diagonal at work between the shoulder of the standing arm and the glute of the opposite hip. And so that's good there. Let's just check it out and see if that happens the same on the other side, shall we? So I have my right hand on the band to keep it down. The left hand is holding the band straight across underneath me, no tension on it. It start both shoulders down the back, and we do about 10 here. And see, and yep, it happens again. Isn't that interesting? We're working a diagonal. It's a terrific thing to do. Now keep your shoulders down. Good, that was very good. So let's go ahead then and leave the band for the moment. And we'll exhale and pull our belly up and inhale and drop our belly down. And moving all of our spine in the same direction with each breath, right? So we move into extension, we move into flexion. We're not forcing an end point of the range, just keep breathing in our cat-cow. Couple more. Good. And then we'll take a knees apart, toes together, child's pose. So we do this so that we're not pushing our spine into flexion over your legs. So if this doesn't work for you, you're welcome to choose a different child's pose. And what you can do too is stack your fists on top of each other in front of you and put your forehead down on your fists. So that way you're getting a nice supported child's pose in which we are not flexing our spine. So we're just going to let ourselves breathe here for a couple more breaths. And then we'll come up and we'll sit down. So from here, let's use our band. What a surprise that we're using our band again, right? One of these days, I'll teach a class with all the props, and we'll just have, my friend Erin calls that circus day. So let's take the center of the band and place it over the tops of your feet. And then take the band underneath your feet. Okay, so you've kind of wrapped your feet. Okay, so you see it's over the top. And then you take each end and put it underneath. Right? So this is just so the band doesn't flip off the tops of your feet and whack you in the face. So we'll have our legs in front of us in an orientation where you can sit up tall. So some of us, if our hamstrings are tight, we might be sitting kind of like so. That's not good. So we want to be nice and tall. So if you need to bend your knees like me, I have tight hamstrings too, you do that. So we'll take the ends of the band, roll your shoulders back, pull into belly, lean back enough with a flat back to feel your abdominals working. And here we can just do a little biceps curls. That's it. Because you know, tank top season never really ends, does it? All right. So we'll do about 10. Good, and then come on up. Put the soles of the feet together, knees apart, grab a hold of your shins and your ankles, and lengthen your heart forward. Good. So now let's lengthen our legs out as much as we are able to keep our backs nice and long. And then bend your elbows. Okay. So your elbows are held at just below shoulder height if you can. If you're healing a shoulder and that doesn't work, you can have them lower. Okay. So we'll take a breath and we'll hinge back with a flat back hinge, enough to feel your abs, but no more. And then as we exhale, we'll lengthen our arms and come forward with a flat back hinge. Okay. And pull the band back, bring it forward, and bring it back up again into your bicep curl position. Okay. So it's very simple. We're just doing a little sequence. Lean back, find your abs, lengthen your arms as you come forward, keeping your back tall. Press your arms back, bring them forward, and back up again. Okay. Lean back. Come forward, lengthening your arms forward. So you have to use more ab as you come forward, you see. Bring your arms back, bring them forward, and bend them. Good, let's do 2 more. Lean back, come forward, bringing your arms forward. Take your arms back, bring your arms forward again, bend your elbows. Last one. Lean back, lengthen your arms forward as you come up. Take your arms back, bring your arms forward. Good. And that's enough of that. Let's go ahead and take this band off of our feet, place the soles of the feet together, hold on to your shins, and pull your heart forward to just stretch out for a moment. Perfect. So now from here, let's go ahead and lay down on our backs. So we'll come to one side, roll to our backs. And I think we can be done with the band for the moment. We're just going to go into a couple of our Pilates abdominal exercises that we haven't yet done. So we'll take both knees in toward our chest and hold on to the shins with both hands for a moment. Okay, and the elbows are wide. Now, hold on to the right below your knee with your right hand. Good. And then extend your left leg long. Now slide your right hand down to the outside ankle. Left hand stays at the knee. Okay, and then switch your leg in your hand position. So it's single leg stretch. Okay, now if you don't have bone density loss and you do want to have your head lifted, you could come up into upper body. Make sure that you're able to come up high enough that your eyes can be looking over your cheekbones down towards your thighs. If that feels uncomfortable in your neck, you just lower your head down and continue the exercise. Okay, so just very mindful. Now, holding onto the shin creates kind of a push-pull, which is sort of a nice way to do this exercise. You can also challenge yourself by holding your arms out next to you, hovering them, and just extending one leg and then the other, and that creates a lot more work in the belly. It's good if you're ready for it, okay? And one more, and we'll bring our knees in. And then go ahead and take your right leg in both hands behind the thigh, straighten your leg up, and extend your left leg out long. And then switch the leg you're holding. So we kind of go into this alternating hamstring stretch here. So our single long leg stretch. And if you'd like to style it, you can do a little pulse. Again, you can be up if your back is okay with that. And just move from side to side. So our single long leg stretch, we just keep breathing. The elbows are nice and wide. Keep moving with your breath. One more on each side. Good, and then bring your knees in. Take your knees around in mirror image circles. Go the other direction. Good. And then let's go ahead and roll to one side and come up. Great. So we'll take our legs around into our Z sit. Okay. Pull your shoulder blade down at your supporting shoulder. And then reach your other arm up for length. Take a breath. And exhale, come over. And find a nice side stretch. Take a breath. And exhale, use your abs and your arms to come up and find your balance. Then hold on to your shin of your and do a counter stretch to the other direction. And then find your balance. Then gracefully come back down to the mat and reach over. Now, if you'd like to go into rotation, you just inhale, rotate toward the ceiling. Exhale, pull deeply into belly, and that gives you room to rotate your rib cage. Okay. And we move into our mermaid, which if it's not comfortable, you go on your back and do the figure 4 stretch. And if it's not enough, then progress yourself into pigeon pose from yoga. And just keep breathing. So see if you can scan your body and figure out, like, are your eyes tense? Can you release the muscles around your eyes? Can you separate your teeth? Maybe lift the corners of the mouth. Feel if there's anything that's holding tension, and see if you can just mindfully ask that energy to just go to your breath. One more breath here. And we'll inhale to unwind. Exhale to come on up. And yes, we could do a counter stretch as we come up. Isn't that nice? Beautiful. And we'll go ahead and change legs. Move to the other side. The shoulders are down. Reach up for length. Inhale. Come over. Feel the stretch. Take another breath. And then use your arms and abs to come up. Find your balance. Good. Hold on to the other shin. Reach. Find the counter stretch. Come back to balance. Gracefully move back over into the side stretch. Take a breath. Stay here. Go into rotation. Inhaling. Opening your heart toward the ceiling, exhaling, deep belly scoop so you can rotate your rib cage. And just keep breathing. Separate the teeth. Soften your eyes. Soften the muscles in your scalp. So interesting where we hold energy. Take a couple more breaths. Inhale to unwind. Exhale, come up, grab your shin, do a little counter stretch. And then we'll swing our legs around, pull your shoulders down and your abs in until I see you again. Thanks for coming today.